Obsessed podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Daren Wendell.
Yeah, welcome you fish freaks. Welcome to podcast episode number 64 of the KFO show, brought to you by the Wendell Fishing YouTube channel. Guys, 1,200 videos. I got daily shorts, daily community posts filled with a ton of polls, which seem to be like my most popular post. I get like 2,000-3,000 poll votes every time I do that. So that's fun. I got this weekly podcast going on and a weekly video, but I've been kind of doubling down recently. I'll be posting a couple videos a week over the next few weeks as we enter into the most wonderful time of the year, May bass fishing. Guys, if you are not on YouTube and you're listening from the podcast, hey, I'm on Facebook, I got the community for you. There's a group out there called Kayak Fishing Freaks. We just started it about, 4 months ago at 7,200 members and growing. So I threw the link in there. If you're listening in from Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to your podcast from, head over to Facebook, Kayak Fishing Freaks. Would love to have you there. Also, tomorrow, I am pumped. The Knucklehead Challenge, I've been talking about this for a while, starts tomorrow. And there's still a chance if you want to sign up, you can still do so. I'm looking at my page over here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see what we're looking at. Let's see who signed up over here. All right. No, that's not it. Here we go. We have on Team Wendell 27 anglers right now. Pretty excited about that. Seeing some of the OG from last year who won it with me. Jack McRoberts, Tammy Sanchez. I like it. Got some new names in here. Amy Richards, I'm pumped about. John Long, you guys better be bringing the heat because I know he's going to be. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to go and stop sharing here. But if you haven't signed up for a team yet, you can sign up for up to 2 and would love to have you on Team Wendell. You can still do that right now. If you're listening to this on the podcast tomorrow, registration will be closed. All right. Now, enough with all that. I had a pretty good month, over 100 inches on the board, top 5 for the April kayak bass fishing tournament. I see some people fishing right now. There are literally fish being posted. They're coming after me. So hopefully by the end of this podcast, everyone will be done fishing. We'll see how that all plays out, see if I can hold on to first place. But enough of that. Let's bring my guest on the show. Over 3 million views on YouTube alone. Kevin Baxter, the Bait Man. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Hey, man. I'm doing great. I got to fish all day.
Oh, someone's living the dream. That's what you call that.
Well, I work swing shift. I'm on my long break here. And my fishing was done with a camera. I film Mark Menendez for his local TV show and edit that. And we had to film a show here on Kentucky Lake today and got it done in about 45 minutes this morning. I had an awesome spinnerbait bite. Be up on his YouTube channel here in about a month. So, and then yesterday caught my first frog fish of the year.
Oh, man.
We'll talk about that tonight. You know, it's a bait of May that's slept on. Everyone thinks frog fishing's for hot summer and mats
right.
in the fall, but when they spawn, it's a pretty deadly way to catch them.
Interesting. You're right. You don't hear too much about that. You don't hear that from all the videos start coming out in a couple months from now. But May, all right. Where are you at, by the way? So give some people some context to all these things you're going to be saying.
I live basically on Kentucky Lake. I'm about 10 minutes. Multiple ways from the lake. I grew up here. I lived on Lake Barkley for a while, but Kentucky Lake, that's my home, man. I know it took a little bit of downer and the last 5-6 years. But I'm here to tell you, I don't know if you watched that MLF Invitational. It is chock full of big smallmouth, and our largemouth population is picking up. I mean, what I've seen this year, there's a ton of 14 to 16-inch bass. You can go take a wacky rig right now and probably catch about 40. But you're going to catch a lot of small ones. You might catch a good one, but it's really good to see that class of fish blossoming. Because if you don't have those 14 to 16 inches, you're not going to have those 2 to 3 to 4 pounders in 2 or 3 years. And we were really missing that 2019, 2020, 2021. That class of fish it was either catch a 5-pounder or a 5-incher.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I've been in the lakes recently where I fish, and there's this guy always ends up being at the same lake. He's a boat fisherman. And he's like, hey, man, so great to see all these healthy fish. I mean, we were probably catching 40 in a morning. I was like, this is wild. So it's a good outlook, at least here in Northeast Ohio and some of the lakes that I fish, for the future of bass fishing. That's for sure. So here we got Trevor Wagner kicking over here. Hey, we aren't supposed to give up all the frog secrets now. Is that one of your buddies?
Give up too many secrets. You know, we're going to try to stick to the baits. And I want guys to know I might throw some specific baits out there, but what I talk about is in general. So if you have a favorite frog or you have a favorite flat side crankbait or buzz bait, when I recommend something, this is my personal stuff, but you know, what I may like the best for flat side, you may have a better one, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That's the only thing, Wendell. I see so many top 10, top 5 baits video, and I always like to clarify mine. These are always my picks. That don't mean they're the best, just the ones I'm usually the most confident in.
Yeah, best for you. So that's why people are looking at it, I guess, right? So you used to film you still film pros. How many? Tell me your history on that. I think it's fascinating because the reason I asked you on the show, by the way, one of the buddies that I fish with, Illuminathan.
Great guy.
Yeah, I mean, tell me what, I love fishing with the dude. He was like, you are one of the most knowledgeable people that he follows, and he's a bait guy. I mean, he has his own bait shop it feels like in his basement. The guy knows his baits. But so when he says somebody else knows more than him about baits, I was like, all right, I gotta have this guy on the show. So that's why you're here. I don't know
if I really know more than most people. I just like to talk about it more than most people. How does that sound? You know, Nathan's a good guy, and he's helped me out, and I get stumped every now and then. He'll know it, and vice versa. And he's been following me, dude. I've been doing YouTube for 6-7 years, and I'm not hardcore like you. Do a great job. I went through your content. You post every day a short a video. You're engaging the audience. I work 45 to 60 hours a week, and I don't have time. Like I said, I'm a swing ship. But Nathan's been there since I was like on Facebook streaming on my kitchen table.
All right.
And that's how my whole YouTube started. I would go live on Facebook and stream at a tackle store on my kitchen table. And I started uploading to YouTube and then make a few videos, and it all just kind of evolved. And I haven't been really good at it lately. Again, I've been working a lot, and when I'm filming somebody else, it's not a lot of time for me to film, but I try to ramp it up a little bit this week. And I like the shorts deal, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. It's just the way to get out there. And, there's a lot of really good content creators that I feel get behind the algorithm wall, where they got a lot of good content, a lot of stuff. I see them working hard, and YouTube, for whatever reason, just doesn't want to push them out, but then it pushes out stuff like gummy worm challenges. I don't care about this.
That's not going to make your top 10. Is the gummy worm?
No gummy worms in this top 10.
So he was telling me you used to own or manage a large tackle shop. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. It didn't work out. It was kind of a co-owner managed deal. And I'll be honest, I don't really miss it as far as the work, because it's a headache. I mean, you're putting baits on there, and but I miss the customers and customer service. But, right now is a weird time for tackle sales. It's like sonar minnows and jig heads and everything else.
We'll talk about that a little bit. I always love, I love going on rabbit trails, especially if something's interesting to you. Because I don't know the weird time. Like baits isn't something that I live, dream,
Right.
eat, sleep, right? I'll talk about them, but I'm not in the deep, dark rabbit hole like you are. So unpack that a bit.
Well, so let me backtrack a little bit. When we talked about the video stuff, I worked for a guy named Mike Otten, and Mike was a Bassmaster. It was before the late series. He was a Bassmaster Top 150 Pro, and he had a TV show called Classic Patterns, and it started sponsored by Lucky Craft. And when I went to work for him, I was basically working for Lucky Craft.
Okay.
And that's how I kind of started my deep dive into baits. You know, I was helping the photography with it. Back then, you didn't have digital SD cards; you had actual tapes. And my job for several months was put the tape in the deck, and I set in and out points, and I would pull footage off the tapes. You know, it might take a couple hours to go through 45 minutes of footage. And eventually, Mike sent me down and said, "Hey, man, why don't we learn to edit?" And he showed me how to edit, and I would kind of rough the shows in, stuff like that. And then he gave me a camera, said, "Why don't you come film with me? I'll show you how to film." And
Yeah,
those cameras back in the day, man, we are blessed to have what we got now and the quality. That DVC Pro 50, dude, that thing weighed 50 pounds. And you're shooting in standard depth. So now I'm like, man, we killed ourselves to do that. But I learned a lot about Lucky Craft, and I'll be really honest with you. I got so many free baits. You know, everybody's paying $20 for my, you know, say we did a show about a Sammy, I could call them up and I'd have a dozen Sammys. And I had so many of those OG discontinued stuff, and I gave them away because I thought, oh, I can get all these I want. But a couple years later, Mike and Lucky Craft kind of parted. I think it's a mutual deal, no hard feelings. And we went to work for Pratco Outdoor Brands and started a show, same classic patterns, but it had all the Pratco pros. Okay. And so I got to be in the boat with Timmy Horton, Edwin Evers, Terry Scroggins, Alton Jones, and even did some work on a DVD with Kevin Van Dam and Mike Iaconelli. And
oh, man.
Yeah, so I kind of got pushed into it, like in the center of the industry, and I learned a bunch of backdoor stuff and how, you know, dealers and wholesalers work and deals with pros. And it was amazing how many of those guys were really working for nothing at the time. And companies just want to pay you in baits and stuff like that. But again, you know, I'm working for Pratco, and they're at this time they're pushing Excalibur. Right? It's one knockers, it's the square bills, all the stuff everybody pays 25, 30 for. Right. Dude, they sent me a case of stuff one day. You know, used to kind of guide here on Kentucky Lake. And they had a riders event, and they said, here's the stuff we want you to fish with these riders. Dude, I had more one knockers, and I know what to do with this square bill.
You still got them?
I gave them away. You know, what I had left.
Generous guy.
Now I'm like, man, I wish I'd kept all of them. I could have put my kid in retirement.
Because they're hard to come by, right? Now you're out there trying to collect them from the deep, dark
corners
of the internet.
Yeah. So, you know, I do bait sales now, but, you know, for myself, I don't have an online store. I use a app called Whatnot. Actually started in the sports card community, and there's some fishing guys over there, and I try to do a little sale about once, maybe twice a week. I had so many subscribers and guys like, hey, man, you ought to sell that. And I'd find these hard to get stuff. Man, I'll buy that from you. And I tried it, and, you know, guys buy it. So I buy and sell stuff. I find deals on Marketplace. And yeah, I got some expensive stuff, but I also try to get some bargain stuff where I can pair 2s and 3s. And, you know, we're selling rattle traps, you know, 3 or 4 for like $5-6 sometimes.
Wow.
You know, but I have fun with it. But I'm a guy, I love balsa crankbaits. That's an addiction of mine. I bought way too many of them, but good bait for me.
Nathan was telling me that he had a few baits that you've been trying to get him to part with. Is that true?
Yeah.
Does he have a couple rare ones that you're like, hey, we need a trade?
Yeah. And sometimes I get a few. I get a lot of guys on stream. One thing that's always been really popular is special to me is a Jackal bow stick. And they discontinued about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And if you like a Vixen, a walking bait, the bow stick may be even more rare. And what I run into is when I mention this stuff, people start searching it up, and I can't ever win them on eBay, but there's a few I should win here in a couple minutes on eBay. But it's really good walking bait, and my buddy won a couple boats out on it on Kentucky Lake. But I like finding that hard to get stuff, because once it's gone, usually it's gone. Now, like the Vixen's been out 2 or 3 different times, and but Nathan, he's always got some sneaky juice that I'm like, hey man, keep that on the down low.
He'll tell me that too. He's like, hey, I know you're a content creator, all, but you gotta keep this a secret if I'm gonna tell you about it. So we have a few things that he lets me borrow from time to time as we fish around here, and I appreciate that. I do keep it on the DL for him. So
I see a couple guys, from my channel and whatnot, joining on here, and I want to go ahead and let them know I apologize for not uploading much content in the last month and a half. I've been really busy, and I appreciate everyone that subscribes to my channel and the fishing community as a whole. Dude, it's awesome. There's a lot of really good people. I like collaborating with guys. Me and Hellabass do a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's kind of my best internet friend, you'd say. But I really appreciate you inviting me on here, because I like to talk baits.
Well, yeah. Well, let's hop into it. I do have a question. I want to circle back, but I want to hop into the meat of the show, which is the 10. You could probably go on and on, but Nathan was telling me about, JDM baits, right? Japan domestic market baits. And I got fascinated with it, right? Because you got these JDM baits that are made in the USA, however, still labeled JDM for whatever reason. And so we don't have to hop in there now, but I am fascinated with that whole kind of the behind the scenes, what's happening. And so
here's a perfect example.
Okay.
This is a Megabass tournament crawler. Just happened to be next to me. Of course, it's got all the nice JDM writing and whatnot, but these are actually poured in Bessemer, Alabama. So you ask me. And what I like to tell guys, JDM doesn't exactly stand for Made in Japan.
Okay.
It's Japanese domestic market, which means it's usually available in the Japanese market first.
Okay.
Even stuff from Megabass isn't made in Japan. Now, some is. Lucky Craft, it wasn't all made in Japan. They had factories in China, Vietnam. But one thing I learned is the Japanese really respect the Americans on their ability to pour soft plastic. Whereas us Americans go, oh, I love the JDM hard baits. They so much detail. They do this and that. Well, it's kind of the opposite on the plastic. So a lot of, I believe, Nori's, Megabass, there's a couple other big companies. Their stuff is poured here in the United States.
Huh.
I'd say hi to my wife. She's
definitely say hi to your wife. That's awesome. All right, so interesting. So I didn't know that. So look, I'm learning things as we go. All right, let's hop into the meat of this show today.
Okay. Yeah.
May's tomorrow, May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Pumped about it. Got my own video coming out on baits that I love to use that typically slay for me in May. A lot of things will slay in May. Some things are better than others, and that's why we're here today. So walk us through what's going through your head when you're like, okay, I'm in Kentucky. Share us the water temperatures and kind of what you're looking at, and why are you going to show us what you're showing us right now? So,
well, I'm a madman. If I had a bass boat or a kayak, I'd have 10 rods rigged up. So I'll tell you about May. Let's start off. It's the perfect time of the year if you like to fish, because you can catch bass a foot deep. You can catch them 40 foot deep. You can catch them on riprap. You can catch them out of a bush, catch them out of grass. It all just depends on what stage of the spawn those fish are in and water temperatures. Guys up north, like Rich Hellabass, he's looking at kind of pre-spawn stuff, water temperatures maybe in the mid 50s. If they've had a cold winter, might be in the mid 40s now. Where I'm at, water temperatures 70 degrees. That's like that magic number. Like, get anything you want, they're going to bite it. You just got to find them. And then you got guys way down south where they're post-spawn. Those fish are either moving offshore, they're moving off to some kind of structure. They're away from the bank. And plus they're flat bowl lakes. They're going to go ahead and get into the cover, into the grass, stuff like that. But me, it's May 1st, water temperature 70 degrees.
All right.
The first thing I'm going to grab is my favorite way to fish. And if I can catch them like this is how I'm going to do it. and that is a spinner bait.
That's what you're doing today.
Yeah. So it's my favorite technique. This is the one I've been throwing. You know, I'm not sponsored by Dirty Jigs Tackle. This is their new compact spinner bait. And guys that know me know I like me some purple. But this, and then I put me a little 6 cents juggle minnow on the back. It's a real streamlined profile. I use it on a chatterbait too. The key there, I got a trailer hook. You know, I've got it where it's kind of free swinging, so it doesn't really interfere with the trailer. But when they come get it, you know, and the reason for a spinnerbait is it's not really a shad spawn deal for me. I can cover a lot of water with this bait. I can get in and around cover fairly easily if I make a good cast.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of bass fry garters, and it just gets their attention and they react on it. I really like it when the water's just got a little bit of color to it, because if it's clear, they can see it. But man, I can get it around a boat dock. I can get it around a stump. That's my favorite, finding some stumps. Willow trees. It's just a fun way to fish, man. It's like yesterday and today when they were coming up and eating it, you could see them. They would flash on it. Sometimes you'd get it right next to a bush, and it's like they'd come up and kiss it, and they'd get that trailer hook and they'd pull down. And to me, that's an awesome way to fish. And I know this is Kayak Fishing Obsessed. Easy bait to throw from a kayak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, spinner bait's what I like to call a dummy bait. You don't have to have a ton of bait knowledge. You just tie one on and figure it out. And we can get into blade combinations and all that. But I keep it really simple. I'm fishing this in 4 foot of water or less. I like some double willow blades, smaller blades, and I like these compact spinner baits. War Eagle makes a good one. The Screaming Eagle, Accent makes a nice compact spinner bait. I like those because they got smaller blade profile. I can move it faster. Okay. And I believe with those compact spinner baits, you can be a little bit more accurate because they don't catch wind near as bad as a bigger spinner bait.
You hear that, Sly Fox fishing? It's a dummy bait. That's his favorite. I had him on the show, I don't know, a couple months ago, and he talked for a straight hour just on spinner baits alone. So the man loves a spinner bait. In your opinion, what makes a great spinner bait? Right? What are you looking for?
Me, it kind of starts and ends with wire size to me.
Okay.
And everyone's got this misconception that the super thinnest wire is the best. The only problem is super thin wires go out of tune quicker. So you have to have this happy medium of your wire size. This one from Dirty Jigs, it's a smaller diameter wire than many, but it's durable. I mean, I caught about 15 fish on that, and it's still nice and straight. You want to get that perfect blend of vibration and strength. I like them. If you'll notice this wire, guys, if you see the head of the spinner bait, it's almost perfectly in line. It's not quite a short arm. You'll see a lot of spinner baits. Sometimes the arm's real long and the blade's way back there. So that keeps that blade right over that hook. And so if fish comes to hit the blade, he's closing down, gets the hook. But I always run a trailer hook. I learned my lesson last year. Had a giant bass on Kentucky Lake. Didn't have a trailer hook on it. If I did, he was caught. But so many of those fish, they're just reacting to it. They think it's a little shad or bluegill, and they just come up. They're garden fry. They're trying to eat it and get away or blow it out. And that trailer hook, it gets them. But me, the wire, the blades, like this one here from Dirty Jigs, it's got Hildebrandt blades. I got a friend in Alabama. Or no, he's in Florida now. Spot Sticker, Ron Coleman. He makes a special spinnerbait for me. I like it quite a bit. I'll show. It's called the Baitman Special.
Oh, there you go. Named after you.
Yeah, man. It's should have had one right here on my desk, but he sends me quite a bit of them because I throw them all the time. This is his mini me, and it's a really compact spinnerbait with some painted blades on it. And so this is meant for burning, but you see, this one's got a longer hook on it, right? And your weight's down here at the back. So I can really crank this fast. And when that water's really dingy, I'll go to something like this. That's kind of a table rock shad pattern. I think you can get these on his website or on Tackle Warehouse. But the painted blades, I like it when that water's really stained. Okay. That white gives a different flash in dirty water. But again, this wire is a little bit thicker because it's originally meant for fishing for spotted bass and smallmouth. And, when you're burning them things, it mock Jesus and a smallmouth hits it. you can destroy a spinnerbait really quick. So he puts a little thicker wire. But one thing all the good spinnerbait builders do, Nichols, Accent, War Eagle, they put good components on there. So you want that swivel to be able to spin freely. Nothing's more frustrating than throwing a spinnerbait and that front blade's not turning. You want them things turning nice and straight. And those good components really help out.
Nice. All right. I got Shad Jet saying, I throw Terminator a lot.
Yeah,
Nathan
good one.
Owens saying, I suck with spinnerbaits. And Illuminathan, the Jaint Juice spinnerbait. What?
Yeah. So, old Jaint Juice. That's I designed a color for 6 cents, and it's called Jaint Juice. It's chartreuse purple back. That's like my all-time favorite color. And I went to Ryan at Spot Sticker years ago and said, hey, man, can you make a spinnerbait this color? And he sent me samples. And he said, we'll just call it the Baitman Special. And I mean, the first day I threw, I caught him. I was like, okay. So I usually got that one tied on. I got to have my water is bright color. If it's real clear, I don't throw it a whole lot. I want something a little bit more translucent and natural. But once that water gets a little dirty, or we get later in the year where the bluegill have really moved up, I like something with some chartreuse in it. It just gets them. It's not so you sit in the water and you're like, whoa, that's bright. The purple and the white kind of tone it down a little bit. So.
All right. Well, we keep on going deep diving in each one like we're doing this one. We're going to run out of time. I love it. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Unless you got a question. If you got a
I'm going
question,
in no particular order, by the way. Just so you know.
This is interesting comment from Hunter Nixon Fishing. I love a spinnerbait, but I hate to throw them. You know what? I feel the same way.
I can feel that.
I don't know why. I know when to pick them. I know when to pull it out. I know when to throw it. I just, for whatever reason, it's just kind of. I mean, you can kill it and you can create your own deflection move. I don't know. It's just not my style. So I hear you, Hunter. Why purple, real quick? Why is that your color? Why is that your go-to?
I don't know.
It just is.
Well, I have a story behind the purple, but we're trying to keep it down. But...
No, we go off the rails all the time.
Well, so back in my high school days, I just graduated, and I was fishing a lot of tournaments, and I was dating this girl. She was good looking, by the way, in case you're wondering. And we went to a sporting goods store, and I said, I got to get some rattle traps for this tournament. And we're in there, and she goes, ooh, why don't you get that one? It's pretty. And it was chartreuse purple. They call it sour grape.
Okay.
So I bought a couple. We get to our first spot, and I break off a red one. And I'm looking in my box. What the heck? Where's my red one? So I tie on a chartreuse purple trap. Water's got some stain to it. And in an hour, proceeded to put about 18 to 20 pounds in the boat. And I was like, all right, I got something here. And so I went on this tirade of I'm buying everything chartreuse purple, and it's just been confidence. And not everybody's chartreuse purple is the same. Some are school bus yellow and purple. Some are light green, purple back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got it down to, I could give you my top 5 chartreuse purple baits, but ever since then, man, I went fishing with my dad several years ago, and we got on a rattle trap bite, and I tied that thing on. I caught a great big smallmouth, and it literally had the whole bait in its mouth, and I'm just really confident in that one. I don't always throw it. I throw reds a lot in the spring, and chromes, but when I need to bite, I'll tie that sucker on.
It's funny. We all get really tied to the colors we love, and I'm so tied to it that I rarely will buy soft plastic colors now. I just pour them myself because, and if I showed you all the colors that I poured, you'd be like, it's green pumpkin. It's like, no. That's not green pumpkin. That's like 2 shades removed from a green pumpkin. This shade, 2 shades below, and I'm throwing it at different times. And so I get it. You get a color that you're like, oh man, this is for whatever reason. You feel good about it when you put it on.
Yeah, I think it's a confidence thing. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter what bait we recommend or color. If you're not confident in it, you're not going to do well fishing.
Yep. I've done it. I was like, I can't find that certain color I like. I'll put this other color. You throw it twice. You're like, I just don't feel it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't feel it. That. So you take out and put the other one like, oh, I'm on. It's go time. You're expecting to catch a fish versus I wonder if I can catch a fish. And that mindset, for whatever reason, it affects the bite. It's crazy.
Does. I think your body goes into that we'll see mode. Whereas if you got the juice on your juice, it's like you feel every fish breathe on it. You feel every rock. You're ready for that. When you're not confident, you're just going through the motions. And I think he missed fish that way.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. I love it. All right, move us on from the spinner bait. What else you got for us?
Well,
In no particular order.
this goes back to kind of what Hunter said. He said, I like catching fish on spinner bait. I just hate throwing it. And I think this is a reason why. Jackhammer / bladed jig.
All right.
Guys have gotten so confident in this baiting. Again, there's not a wrong way to fish this. I don't really throw many bladed jigs other than the jackhammer. That doesn't say any of them are bad or don't work. Really confident in this bait. This is a color I like a lot in the spring. It's hot craw. It's like a green pumpkin with a little red. And I'd use a basic trailer, man. I like taking a green pumpkin fluke or something and putting it on the back. I used that juggle minnow from 6 cents a lot, but before that, the green pumpkin hog farmer or red spunk shad on the back. And I like those straight tail trailers. There's nothing wrong with putting a Kitech on the back. I've seen many guys whip me with it, but I'm really confident on that spunk shad. It doesn't have this crazy motion. It just really streamlines your bait. And how I like to fish a jackhammer is I'll reel it and I stop, reel and stop. Right? You might see me reeling it and twitch my rod tip and make that thing kind of dark.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times those fish are following it and it changes direction. They cannot handle it. But that bladed jig, it's again, it's a dummy bait. You just throw it out there. You can reel it in. You can hop it, stop and go. And it works anywhere in the country. I mean, probably one of the best baits made in the last 20 years is a chatterbait / bladed jig.
We got Hunter asking, have you ever thrown the Evo?
I have. I actually like it quite a bit. I threw it this spring. Caught 2 or 3 on it. It vibrates a little bit harder than a jackhammer. I felt it was thumping a little harder. It starts quick. Honestly, if you don't want to spend the $15-16 on a jackhammer, unless you find them on sale, I would recommend the Evo. Really good bait.
So if money's an issue, right? Because things are expensive.
They are.
What would you go down to an Evo? And what would you, if anything below that? Like give us what you would do, right? If you had
so
$8 or
if
$20.
Money's not an issue, jackhammer all the way. Maybe you can find some deals on whatnot. The Evo, I think it's like $9 maybe. Right. I think that's a little bit more manageable for a guy. You always hear that, man, I don't want to lose it or break it off. I broke plenty off. I guess my mentality is if I'm not putting it somewhere it could get broke off, I'm not fishing it right.
Yeah.
But actually, the Tackle Warehouse chatterbait exclusive is really good. It's got a longer shank hook. It's a really good bladed jig if you're on a budget. And I know a lot of guys swear by the original. And all those baits run different. It's kind of like crankbaits, flat side with a thumbnail lip is different than flat side with a real skinny wedge lip. I mean, they're going to run different. And for my fishing, I feel like the jackhammer runs the best for me, but that Evo is really close. I mean, it's about the closest anybody's put out to a jackhammer. And one I haven't fished, I just bought some, is the new Chatter Bomb from Bass Pro Shops. I know they get a lot of hate because they're Bass Pro Shops, but man, that sucker looks really, really good. I'd like to throw it a little bit. They're actually putting out some really good stuff right now. That's not a knockoff. So hats off to them.
All right. What do you think? We got Southeast Georgia kayak bass fishing. Chatterspike. You used the Chatterspike for the trailer?
I haven't, but I have zero doubts it would work great. Again, I like those streamlined trailers. Now, we'll give you all a little tip. Especially in May, once some bluegill really start getting up shallow, you've got more fish, more life there in that shallow water. Take you a Strike King Game Hog and use that as a trailer. I know it sounds wild putting a creature bait back there, but it shakes and does all kinds of stuff. It gives it a big, bulky profile. And I've seen a lot of fish caught on that. I've caught a few myself. Or take a structure bug and put it sideways on there. And you get a lot more motion. You bulk up your profile a little bit. It's a little dirty trick a lot of guys on the
I've done some creature baits in the back of the old chatterbait before, so it works. Nathan, the reason you're here tonight, that big blade chatterbait is great in stained or muddy water. You ever throw on the big blade?
I have a few times. Sorry, I'm really thirsty.
Hey,
but
do what you need to do.
Dude, I get to talking, man, and my mouth goes dry. But I have thrown the big blade. It thumps really good. I think Nathan hit it on the head. Stained, dirty water.
Yeah.
You're getting more vibration on that. And I like that they make a coleslaw color, like an orange blade, white chartreuse skirt. So in that dirty water, that stands out. But it's not vibrating as fast as a jackhammer, but it's moving more water, thumping a little bit harder. Kind of same theory as a flat side versus a big wide wobbler in dirty water. Flat sides are great. They got a lot of vibration. They don't have a lot of thump and flash. So that's when I'll switch to a little bit fatter crankbait in the dirty water. So it's same theory, but I do like the big blade.
Yeah. Hey, we have 75 people on live right now, which is pretty awesome. So hey, if you're
that's all, man.
Yeah, if you're listening in, hit that like button, help us out, get a little extra yardage on YouTube for both of our channels. And hit that like, that would help us out a ton. I got a question here from Cooler Lit AP 120. How about the slobber knocker?
Slobber knocker's pretty good. I like it. It vibrates different. One thing I'll say about the slobber knocker, it actually comes through wood pretty well, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's the one downfall to people say, when do I fish a spinnerbait? When do I fish a bladed jig? If I'm fishing like I am right now in Kentucky Lake, where I'm fishing wood, stumps, and I don't mind getting contact, I'm going to a spinnerbait 90% of the time. A chatterbait does not like wood. A jackhammer really doesn't like wood. But that slobber knocker, the way that blade's designed and the head, for some reason, if it hits wood, a lot of times it just flip over. And I think that's a plus, especially if you're worried about losing baits. It's got good vibration. I haven't thrown it as much as the others. I had a decent day with it last year when it come out, caught some fish. Matt Robertson lives down the road from me, and he's like, man, it really ain't that bad of a bait. You better give it a try. And Matt's pretty picky. I'm not going to lie. He's really picky on his stuff. So if he tells me it's pretty decent, you can probably take it to the bank. It's decent.
I love it. Zach Hayden, I like hearing this. Saving up for my first kayak. I can't wait. Awesome. Kevin, you ever fish from the kayak?
I have.
Do you own one?
No. I don't own anything right now. I'm saving my money to buy a bass boat. I've said that for the last 5 years, but my wife always wants to spend it on something else. But that's why I've been selling baits on Whatnot. So getting a bass boat fun. But I love kayaks. I fished out of a Jackson for a little bit. And
nice.
What model was it? I believe it was the Coosa HD. And had an orange and white one. Not gonna lie, I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, and so I had that for about 2 months, and I turned around and sold it. And you know, when you're in the retail, when you're in the retail business, someone says, "I love that. I'd like to buy it." You sell it to them, but I liked it. You're like, it's a totally different deal than being in a bass boat.
Yeah,
like the way we're catching fish right now in Kentucky Lake is prime kayak fishing time. You can get back in a creek. You can get in the back of the bay. You can get away from everybody. There's not 6 boats sitting on a point. But I respect the guys that are out there paddling and pedaling and making those, longer runs, not just backing into the bay and fishing one little spot. And that's fine if you want to do that. But the thing about kayak, man, there's a lot of untapped fishing that you can get to in a kayak versus a fiberglass bass boat, because you're pretty limited. Once you get to that beaver dam, you're done.
You're done.
If you go kayak, drag that sucker up on the bank and move on. There's been several KBFs won here on Kentucky Lake in no man's land, Yeah. Where I didn't even know a boat or fish existed, but they get the kayaks back there.
It is wild. Some of the places I love to fish, like I literally will go over 2 or 3 beaver dams to get to unfished ponds. And I'm like, man, I just wouldn't be able to do that. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. All right, right on. We were up to 80 people on the live. Man, it's getting exciting. All right.
Appreciate everybody joining in. Wendell, you invited me last month and I flubs it and totally forgot. So I apologize. But dude, you got a sweet podcast set up. I just set up in my bait room and I can barely walk around here. You got it nice and organized.
Well, you don't see everything else that I see. It's just clean right here. But over here, it's madness. If you could only see it. All All right, keep walking us through. I think we're on number 2 of 10, and it's we're at 40.
So we've got spinnerbait, chatterbait, no particular order. Let's do a hard bait here.
All right.
And I'm going to go with a top order, and that's a popper. So this is the new Rebel P71, which is a reproduction of the famous, I got one in the package here, Rebel P70 that was discontinued. Yes, that is bubblegum.
All right.
And I always say if it ain't chrome or if it ain't bone, leave it at home. However, in May, there is a bluegill spawn in a lot of places. So I want something that maybe has a little orange belly with the white, orange throat. They will see that, and it's a bluegill color. And I like a popper better than I like a walking bait this time of year. And this is another one I throw a lot. And it does. These two baits do something very similar. Tactical Bassin calls it the rate of stall when they're talking swim baits. Well, you talk to Craig Powers, who's the best pop art fisherman on the planet. He made it famous by throwing this guy right here in the bushes on Kentucky Lake, like pinpointing them right in the middle of the bush and not getting hung up. You can make these two baits walk in place, and they only move about this far.
What's the second one you have for those listening?
This is a 6-cent splashback. I'm really confident. I've got another one tied on right now. But this is bone. I've got a bluegill one and a shad one. Again, as long as the belly's wide or got some orange on it, that's what I like. So you see that individual bush or that individual stump. With a walking bait, you're really moving it by. Right. I mean, yes, the same fish that would grab a spinnerbait would probably grab that. But sometimes these bass are really finicky, and you can get that pop bar. You can get it right up to that stump or that bush. And you just, and maybe went out with same sound effect. And if you're doing it right, that bait may only move that far with 5 or 6 twitches, and it just sits there and kind of aggravates them, and they come up and just they kiss it and bring it down. You'll have more violent strikes on like a buzz bait or what. The popper, they just come up, it's sitting there, slurp it, grab it, and they slurp it. Man, there's so many good poppers out there. Those are two I'm confident. I love the old Pop and Image. Those are good. The Rico. But when I know they're on that bite, and I tried it the last day or two, and they just wouldn't commit to it. I had one just kiss it. But when they're on that bite, man, that's as fun as it gets. But you got to be a good caster if you're going to do it around shallow cover, how I'm fishing. And that's where your gear is really important. I like a shorter rod, one with some tip where, you can load the bait on there and fire into where you're wanting to go, or else you'll be like I was yesterday, had the wrong rod, and you're chasing your bait out of a bush every other cast. So,
love it. George P. I still throw the old Zell Roland Signature Series.
Yeah. I got a few in here.
I those rods. I got impulse rods, and I actually have it hooked up for tomorrow. Got to pop.
Yeah, dude. So
my
favorite. I wish I had it right here. My favorite rod of all time for top water. Let's see if I got it sitting here. Oh yeah. You talk about vintage, old school, baby. This is the rod that inspired the Impulse top water rod. This is the old Zell Roland All-Star top water special. And man, this thing's so old, I got a rod wrap on
it. I love it.
But man, for throwing top water, it's just a perfect rod. I even throw jerk baits on this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like a 6'8" or 6'6" medium light.
Oh yeah,
moderate fast, almost a crankbait rod. But dude, I've had guys offer me like 100, 150 for this thing. I'm like, absolutely not. There's a couple good rods out there I like. I think Impulse is one.
Yep.
That's almost dead nuts on that. But everybody makes a top water rod, and it's either a noodle limp or it's just too stiff. And I think that one's perfect because I can get that pop bar to do what I want to. And I'll throw the spook on that all the time. It doesn't wear me out. I like a shorter rod. I see guys throwing like walking baits on a 7.6. I'm like, dude, how do you do that all day?
Wow. Yeah, head over to Impulse. They have one specifically for what we're talking about right now, which is exciting.
Yeah, what's the guy that runs that? Lance.
Lance, and he's got a partner too.
I've talked to Lance before. He's a really nice guy. Those are good rods, by the way. I'm not sponsored by him or anything. I'd have no problem buying one, but That's my popper box.
if you're listening in, there are probably what 40 poppers in that
Oh
that
yeah.
case.
Oh yeah. I just put a few in there a while ago. Someone said the Zell Roland.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go, right there. Zell Roland
there it is.
Classic Popper.
Are they all feathered?
So I like to have feathers on all mine.
Okay.
I
Do
like
they
to
all
have feathers.
typically come that way, or
Most of them they do. I keep some spare feather trailers here. Like I like these right here. If you guys are ever wanting to replace, these are ones I recommend. This is the Gamakatsu G Finesse
okay?
feather trailer. I like the G Finesse because they're a little bit lighter wire, but they're super, super sticky. Not, I'm using these baits. I don't use a lot of braid. I use some heavier mono. It's got a little bit of stretch, and that helps they get hooked on there. And that braid, you can really pull a hook out. Where the mono's got enough stretch, it lets it stick in there.
Got it.
But if you're around cover a lot, like I'm talking about now, braid's got some benefits because you can get those fish out. Whereas mono, you're going to have to play them a little bit more. Mono's great for open water. Maybe you're fishing around a dock and they eat it and they're running into deep water. No big deal. But you get around them bushes and stumps and the nasty, probably put some braid on there because you get them hooked, you got to get them out of there.
Yeah, quickly. Chris Haney, the Poppy McPop face is fire.
Yeah. Isn't that the 13 fishing popper?
I have no clue. I know Bodie McBoatface in that story, which I love. I'm glad someone made a lure called the Poppy McPopface, which is hilarious. If you don't know that story, look up Bodie McBoatface.
All right, I will.
Yeah, do you know it?
Oh, I'll look it up. I don't know the story.
So I'm gonna butcher it, but essentially, I think like in Britain, they had this boat that they wanted to name. So I put the name, like, hey, anybody out there on the internet can name this, and we'll vote on it. And this is like a royal vessel, and someone put Bodie McBoatface, and it won by like millions of votes because it went viral.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever actually called it Bodie McBoatface, but that's where it came from. So go check out that story; it's funny. All right, what else you got in your den of tackle?
Well, let's see here. Let's talk. How about a swim bait?
Oh,
I know you say you like the mag draft.
I love the 8-inch mag. I did a video on it, 6, 8, and 10. Right. But 8's my favorite for around here.
Well, I like a mag draft. I like, those harness swim baits really well. But what I like in May is a hollow belly swim bait. So there's two reasons. I could rig it on a jig head. I could fish it out deep offshore on a ledge, or I could put a belly weighted hook and actually fish it more like a spinnerbait around shallow cover, around boat docks, and you get a really good hookup ratio. And my all-time favorite swim bait, I've said this many times on my channel, and it's the one that got me hooked. It got me buying mag drafts and bull shads and spending stupid amount of money I probably didn't have. And that's
you want swim bait underground over there? Start spending this.
Yeah, and that's the 6-inch Bass Tricks.
Okay.
And they're, they went through a period where the quality wasn't that great. It's a new owner's done an awesome deal. This one's a Tackle Warehouse exclusive. This is a bluegill color right here.
All right.
So this is something I like to throw. And once the shad spawn hits or afterwards, I'm going to go to more of a shad color. But that Bass Tricks, it's got a lot of head movement. So when it's swimming, it's not just tail thumping. The head's kind of going this way. The tail's going the opposite way. It's got that motion in there. What I like to call it the death shimmer. Because when it's swimming like that, it might die. And again, I'll rig it on a beast hook. I actually go a little bit bigger. A lot of guys like a 6/0. I'll use an 8/0 just to get a little bit more gap in there and a little bit more weight.
That's what you got to use for the freestyles too. You got to go up to the 8/0 for those things.
Yes, yeah.
Big hooks.
I kind of fish it the same way, but I'll visually fish that. You hear guys waking a spinnerbait or highlighting it where you just see the blades. I like to fish that Bass Tricks like that, where I just barely see the bait. And a lot of times they'll come away from cover and they'll come eat that. You can go behind some guys that they've seen every buzzbait, popper, or spinnerbait, swim jig, but they're not seeing that natural swim bait move through the shallow grass and move around a boat dock, and they eat that. It imitates a bluegill really well, imitates a shad. And it's addicting. They start biting that thing. It's like that spinnerbait bite. I mean, they jam it. There's not a lot of you really. Oh, is that a bite? I mean,
No,
they just like a
thump it.
mag draft.
Right. They thump it. You're like, well, you better be holding on to your reel and rod because if you get the right bass, it might take it from you.
One thing I like about that too, the hollow bellies. Now the bass tricks is kind of expensive. Another really good one. It's not a true hollow belly. I love the 6-inch whale. I've caught a lot of fish on that. The 4.5-inch whale.
Okay.
They're only like $6 a pack.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I like the whale a lot, but you don't have to have some crazy swim bait setup. Dude, a 7'2", 7'3", heavy, medium heavy rod is good enough for that. Now, 8-inch mag draft, you gotta have some butt in your rod to get.
Yeah, it's 3 ounces, and it's the 10 inches, 6 1/4 ounces. You gotta have you gotta
have the big stick.
Fishing. Yeah, you do, because that'll manhandle you.
And where's that hollow belly? You know, it doesn't weigh 3/4 of an ounce after you rig it. It might weigh half an ounce, maybe.
Yep.
So you could throw it on the same rod that you throw a spinnerbait or a jig on it, and you're fine. You don't have to go spend an extra $150, $200, whatever you want on a rod. You can find something to throw it on. So a lot of times I'll keep them with me, and when the conditions call for it, I just clip my spinnerbait off, clip my jig off, and tie one on, and I go. And you cover a lot of water with that, because one thing about a swim bait, whether it's a mag draft or a bass tricks or any of the other ones out there, cool shad, it's got drawing power. Like fish see that and they visually come to it. Whereas a lot of other baits, they're either quick reaction or, it's just a reaction bite. A jerk baits and swim bait, they draw fish. They get curious.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may see fish chase that bass tricks or chase a glide or mag draft.
Yep.
And you can come back there with a wacky rig
follow it up,
whatever, and pick them off.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think of this guy? Because mag drafts are expensive, right? You get the 8-inch, you're looking at $30, depending where you buy it. Could be a little bit more. These are coming in at half the price. For those listening in, this is the Berkeley Call Shad. Now, what I love about this over the mag drafts is, one, I think the magnet on the mag draft absolutely blows.
It doesn't not
really work. No, I could go with it or without it because it doesn't make a difference whatsoever. But the lock-in system that holds the hook, Berkeley did a really great job on that.
Yeah.
The wobble, though, maybe it's just the one I had, but the wobble was like a 9 and 12 when I wanted to go 10 and 2. And so was there a bad batch of these?
Yeah. So they had kind of I guess they said the plastic was bad, and a lot of them were just getting a tail action. It was kind of a dud.
Yeah.
And the way I was told, they want that head movement, tail movement that simultaneously moves. And that's what's really good about a mag draft. If you got one dialed in, you see that head wiggle. And so they recall them. So, people hate on Berkeley. I want to say good on you, Berkeley. If you put out a product and it didn't live up to your standard and you took them back from the consumer, sent them back, and they sent a lot of people bonus baits. Okay. Good on you, man. Good on you. I would like to see more of that in the industry. Hey, things happen. You get these things in from a factory overseas or wherever they're made, and your last prototypes were perfect. You get them in, they get to the public, and something's different.
Yeah.
And they made good on it. It's funny to talk about the mag draft. Nathan to know what I'm fixing to show. There's this swim bait called the Bass Pro XPS Swimmer. And
I saw that come in the comments a minute ago.
So this was this is a replica. This one right here is called the Babe. And you see it's got a harness system. And this is basically the XPS Swimmer. Now, they come back out with it. I did talk to them. They use a different formula plastic. Believe it or not, the formula they were using originally was the same that was in a Cinco without salt.
Okay.
But this was around, the Bass Pro version was around probably, 10 years before mag draft. But it wasn't real popular until it was discontinued, and Mr. Steve Kennedy and Takahiro won a bunch of money on it, and everybody's trying to find them. The price is what, $50 to $100.
Oh wow!
The knock on this bait was you bought 10, you got one that run right. But if you got that one, it had that magic, that head. See how that head just barely moves? But it's not a user friendly bait.
Okay.
You've got to find that right action. Like if you go too fast, it'll spin out of here. If you go too slow, the tail don't move. You get that rod action, and you see that tail just going back and forth in that head, and it's deadly. It's not a bait that I'm going to throw 15, 20 foot deep. Now, some guys modify them, and they run a line through, and you can get it down there. But, man, this bait had a cult following, and when my buddies were making this for a while, they just said, man, we can't make them anymore. We're just trying to make some on the side. And they're having tackle warehouse call them all kinds of stuff. But we can't make 10,000 baits. But Bass Pro bought it back. But like the Bass Tricks, though, shallow cover around boat docks. It's great over the top of bedding fish. Doesn't run as deep as a mag draft. And I'll say this, the mag draft can be finicky too. It's not as finicky as this bait. This one's, you've got to put some time in it and playing with it and figure out that right retrieve. I like a 6-3-1 reel and go pretty slow. But, man, when they get on it, I mean, they stomp it.
The bait. So you can get that right now?
No. You can get the Bass Pro XPS swim rates now out. And I've got a couple. I've even thrown it. Same deal. Like, you're going to get some that are going to get funky and spin, but when you get that right retrieve in, man, it's just, you're like, okay, that looks awesome.
It's like a mystery bait. I'm not quite sure if it's going to work, but if it does, I'm good to go. And if it doesn't, well,
yeah,
you knew what you were buying.
You get on Swim Bait Universe, and shout out to those guys. Most guys are really smart about that. And guys will get something out of the pack and they throw it and they go, well, I can't burn it. It's junk. Well, a lot of the best swim baits aren't meant to be burned.
Right?
They're meant to go slow. If I want to burn a swim bait, I'm throwing a bull shad. If it's a plastic bait, for the most part, I'm fishing it slow.
Yep. I love it. All right. What else have we got? I think we're on like 3 or 4 of 10. So I don't think we're going to make it all the way through. I'm just going to have you back on again because
I mean, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
like I work swing shift. We'll work it out. We'll talk about a bait I used yesterday too. And we talked about it. Someone said, don't give away the juice. And that is a frog. And this is a special one. I'm not going to lie. This is the new Hush Frog from 6 Cents. It'll be out in a little bit. But so
also, it's not out yet.
It's not out. So one cool thing, and we'll talk frogs in general. I get some stuff from 6 Cents, and I had the opportunity to throw this yesterday. The conditions are right. And about third cast, I caught one about 3 pounds on it. But different than the Vega frog, if you guys I got some redneck driving his motorcycle.
I heard it.
Yeah. Luckily, the yard guy didn't fire up tonight. But you'll notice the front of this frog versus the old Vega frog was more cupped. This has a kill on it. And so what this does is it makes it walk really, really well. So a little tip when you get these, if you get some, short rod tip movements really make it walk side to side in place. But built around the hook. Now you're saying, well, Baitman, why would you throw a frog this time of year? Again, I talk about that popper.
Yeah.
I can set it in one place and just make some movements. That frog does the same thing, but it's really subtle. And I ain't got to worry about it getting hung up. I can throw it behind bushes, behind logs, behind laydowns. It's still going to come over them. It might flip over. A lot of times when it flips over a log or stick, I just let it sit there for a second and just barely twitch it. And sometimes those bass are sitting right there and they see that movement and they crush it. But when bass are post spawn, they're guarding a nest, or maybe they're even on a bed, the silhouette of that frog, they just can't stand that. It's very natural to them. I like a jackal gavacho frog really, really well. It's more of a popping frog, but I can make it walk. If you're on a budget, man, Spro frog is really, really hard to beat. And even the Strike King sexy frog, I've caught him on. But everybody likes a frog bite. Like, it's fun. You catch them on a frog, you're excited.
I love the bite. I just don't necessarily love spending the time.
Yeah, so you throw a frog in the spring. This is not a technique where I'm going to go, man, I'm going to go catch 40 fish on this thing today. So I'm going to try to get 5 bites. And the problem with the frog is if you get 5 bites, will you get 5 in the boat? And there's a lot of variables in there.
Yeah.
Getting one to bite, 2, getting him in the boat. And the frog's just not a perfect hookup ratio bait. They can make all the frogs they want to. Ain't nobody got one that catches 100% of bass.
Even Gramps is throwing a frog tomorrow. What in the world is
Gramps
happening?
knows. I see Bass Ref says, what about the Booyah Pad Crusher? Pad Crusher is really good budget frog. And I say budget frog, I've got some. And there's a time and place for them. I like them. They collapse really well. Got a decent hook. Got some decent colors. And you get down to, again, confidence. I find a frog or two that I'm really confident in. I kind of stick with them. I like a Spro. I'm liking this new Hush Frog. I'm sure I'll buy several of those. The Jackal.
How'd you get your hand on them before they're out for everyone?
Well,
you know people. I see a bunch of 6 cents behind you, by the way, hanging on your wall.
Yeah, I'm kind of on their 6 cents and national pro staff,
there you go,
call it, influencers. So knowing I'm the bait man, they like to send me stuff before it's released, and I usually give them really honest stuff. And hey, here's what you need to improve. This is money. This isn't. So
yeah.
This tooth is wiggling.
Oh, your tooth is wiggling? All right. Well, I'll be in here in a little bit, okay?
I love it. You got Lumen Nathan. The Jackal Lobie is one of the best frogs if you can find them. So I take it they're discontinued.
Yeah, man. Those are $30, $40 frogs.
Oh, geez.
But John Cox, Mr. Shallow Water guy himself, made that won a Forest Wood Cup on that, I believe. It's
okay.
Really good walking frog, soft. It collapses. Almost got a very similar body to this guy. It's got that killed. See this. It's got that killed kind of nose, and popping frogs. I like them in more open water, but I want a walking frog around that shallow cover.
I like the size of that thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do too.
It's not super big like most frogs, and it's not on the small side. It's like it's a medium-sized frog. I like it.
Yeah, you see how it collapses really easy, and that's something I like to look for in all my frogs. I want them hooks to be able to pop out as quick as they can.
Right.
Don't care who makes it. If your frog isn't very collapsible, you're not going to hook up with a lot of fish. And this one, I didn't have to bend the hooks out or anything like that. And I mean, it hooked this dude in the roof of the mouth. It's underrated for May. So it's really good when those fish are up right next to the bank, or they're around cover, or they're garden fry, real subtle. It's exciting. Don't look to go catch 40 fish a day on it. You're trying to get 4 or 5 bites. And usually you get the better bite of the day on that frog.
There you go. If you're looking for the better bite, we all are. Sometimes after, 15 fish, knowing that you can catch them all 1 to 2 pounders, you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend some time going after a large one. Maybe the frog in May may do it for you. George P. said the Booyah makes a glittery hollow frog called the disco ball. Great for shad chase.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Throw that out there. Then B2 Fishing. I like the Berkeley Swamp Lord.
I've heard a lot of good things about that frog.
All right.
One I really like that's discontinued now, y'all might have to get on eBay, is the True Tungsten Mad Max frog. It was discontinued a long time, but it's super soft. Downfall on a super, super soft frog, they tear up real easy.
Okay. Interesting. MT. Hey, I'd like to hear this. Just bought a P127 today. Bonafide P127 is a kayak that I've had for a season and a half now. Absolutely love it. It's pedal drive. I put a motor on it, NK180, and that thing is a freaking fishing machine. So MT, got a bunch of videos on that. You're going to love that purchase. All right. Let's keep this party moving.
I've been in a Bonafide. Those are great kayaks.
Great kayaks. I know that Gramps is on here. He just got himself the PWR. I love it. I love kids, man. I got two little ones myself.
To be the star of everything.
See, it's my hope. That's the reason I called this channel Wendell Fishing, because my hope that my girls take it over someday.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. That's the dream, right? All right, let's do one more bait because I want to be sensitive to your time. So, out of the 7 left, we need to do another show, man. We do another show.
Yeah. I'm going to be really honest. A shaky head worm. And I say that because, man, you're going to get these days in May where bright bluebird skies, the morning bites fire, man. You're catching them on a spinnerbait, a topwater, a frog. And all of a sudden, what happens? Somebody flipped the light switch. I cannot buy a bite. So I like a shaky head worm, whatever your choice is. And I like to go really light on the jig head. So, whatever. This is a 6 cents booster worm. I really like a. I couldn't grab everything, guys. I got a mess here, but I like a zoom trick worm really well.
Yep.
The Strike King Perfect Plastics. They call it a finesse worm, really good. But the reason why is, man, you can slow down and fish really slow. I like an 1/8 ounce head, and just I don't want a real long worm, some 6.5, 7 inch. I like a zoom trick worm, even thinner profile. Berkeley makes a really good shaky worm. There's net bait, and I'll get around that boat dock. I can pitch that thing up there, and I can just let it sit. I can let it sit in a brush pile. I can find a good rocky point and just barely move it. And that shaky head gets a lot of bites. Now, I'm not a traditional guy that throws it on a spinning rod. I use a bait caster. I use 12-pound fluoro.
Yep.
7-foot medium heavy rod. The reason I do, I feel I can get that hook in them.
It's a stout hook.
Yeah. I like a round ball head. Some guys like a stand-up shaky head, and that's fine. I feel like with that round ball, I can work it really, really slow, and it doesn't get hung up as bad in brush and cover. Football heads guys like on rock, and that's fine. But I like a Picasso. I believe it's called the Shakedown. It's got an itty-bitty screw, and sometimes it can get really hard to get them in. But it's not a giant hook, but it's super, super sharp. And I'll just throw it out there. And a lot of guys think you got to take that shaky and just sit there and shake, reel. I throw it out there, let it fall, and I drag it really slow.
Dragging it,
and I just stop. And those spawning fish sometimes, they'll just pick it up and move away. And a lot of times I just, move it, and you'll feel them, thump, thump, and they're there. But colors, get your confidence color. In the spawn, I want something that's got some green, some blue in it. That's a bluegill-ish, but any form of green pumpkin is going to catch. I don't care if it's green pumpkin green, green pumpkin red, green pumpkin blue. If it's got some green pumpkin in it and it's a shaky worm, you can catch fish on it in May.
Yeah. That actually made my top 4 baits for May video that's coming out tomorrow is the shaky head or / Nico. And
yes, I'm a Nico guy, man. I
if
got
I'm
one
lazy,
rigged up
I'm
right
throwing the
now.
Nico. Yeah. I fish the wacky a lot of times. I snail weight the end and rock and roll. But
dude, got him on a wacky today too. Again, that shaky head worm. So here's the deal: what you're using on a shaky head is usually pretty good for a wacky rig. So if you got some in your boat, hey, you may not have rings, but you can still hook that dude through the middle.
Yep.
And that shaky wacky kind of same thing, different presentation. You mentioned Nico. I love a Nico rig. And guys that say, well, when do you Nico rig versus wacky rig? If I want that bait is barely moving, falling, and I'm fishing horizontal structure like a lay down or bushes or logs, I like that wacky rig because I can keep in that upper water column.
Yep.
If I'm fishing a docks that's got poles all the way down, I'm fishing over the top of a brush pile, I want that bait to go fall down. Yep. I like a Nico rig.
Heck yeah. Basically, anytime it gets over 5 feet for me, I'm usually bringing out the Nico rig. Now, I'm throwing for the shaky head. What do you think about? I like my worms to float, so I don't know about some of the you reference, but I'm using the Z-Man clubtail worm, right? 'Cause I want that thing straight up in the air. Mm-hmm. Are the ones that you were referenced? Do those float, or are you?
Yeah, the boosted one, the tail stands up.
Okay.
The zoom trick worm really doesn't, but I've caught dozens of fish on. I'm really confident. You're hitting a spot on me where I'm in the camp that I don't think it matters if a worm floats or not. But
all right. Hey,
again, let's go back to confidence.
Yeah,
we go back to confidence. I can say I've had guys kick my butt and they had a worm that was floating up, and vice versa. Where I've been out fishing a ledge and throwing a worm that I know doesn't float, and someone else's, and I'm catching them every other cast. So I think it depends on the mood of the fish. Look, one day they're biting a red crankbait, the next day they won't bite it.
Right.
Going in the same area. So, but I'm trying to think of one that floats. The net bait T-Max do really
someone
good.
mentioned that a moment ago
because they got that pork fat in them, and I think it makes it a little bit more buoyant. Reaction Innovations makes a flirt worm, and it's got some flotation in it. I like it really well. So
It's so funny. If someone were
I'll
listening
take
to the show, and they're like, these guys are speaking a different language with all these different weird names that we have
Baitnese.
for baits. What were we gonna say? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's like speaking Baitnese. Like you got to know.
Yeah, this is interesting because so tell us a little bit more. We'll finish up the bait talk here because we're coming up to the end of our time.
Sure.
But Trevor said, hey, if any of you guys want some good deals and fun times, you join one of Baitman's whatnot streams and auctions. Got some good deals on there and had a great time. Walk us through, because I saw that on Hellabass as well.
Yeah.
What are you doing with that?
So, again, we talked about this at the start. I had some guys. I'm getting tongue twisted. When I first started on the streaming and been doing it for a while, I'm bringing out all these baits, and people are like, "Hey, man, I want to buy those?" Or I'm going to hang on to them, and I didn't want to do eBay, and I didn't want to just sell over Facebook Marketplace. And I'm into sports cards. My son got me into it, and it's the biggest money waster I've ever seen. Because you're opening a pack hoping to get something worth $3. Now, I've got some really good ones, and they do these sports card breaks where everybody throws in $20. You get a team to open the box.
Did I lose you? He's frozen. So you guys wonder why he just stopped talking. We got a frozen bait man going on here. Luma Nathan, we'll look at some of these comments while maybe you get him back. Said, I don't think NetBait is using pork fat anymore. I thought it's bait fuel now. All right, interesting. I don't know. Oh,
My
you're back.
internet went out.
No, it's all good. You're back. I was just reading some comments over here.
Yeah.
All right, what were you saying?
Anyway, so I found this app called Whatnot.
Right.
It's live auction. So as we're talking right now, I could throw a bait up there and say, all right, guys, I'm starting this at $1. And you can bid, and it goes for whatever. What's cool about it is it's live. You don't have to get on eBay and go, well, I don't know if this is a scam or what conditions this in. I can't see. And I'm really transparent. If I have a bait that's got some nicks or what, I say, hey, guys, this is, used, it needs new hooks or whatnot. Let guys know. And I started doing it just as a little bit, and people were like really buying. And I thought, well, that's cool. And, back from my retail days, I kind of missed the customers. And so I've really started accumulating a mass of stuff to sell. And we'll have everything from ultra rare frogs, crank top waters. But then, I may have soft plastics and run, hey, man, here's 3 packs of Zoom lizards that were started at $1. If they sell for $2, so be it. Somebody gets a deal. So it's cool. And I tell guys, I'm not into selling Guggen baits and stuff you buy out of discount bins and trying to make dollars. I'm looking for the OG stuff, the old bandits, the Zell Rolling Pop Wars. We just did a only Build Ants bait. So there's all those Build Ants fat-free shads and stuff. Guys are wanting them. They want to make a collection, and I'm cool with that. And I'm trying to do different themes. I've got a bunch of stuff coming in. Should be here tomorrow. And I've got those old Shimano fishing boxes that everybody's really wanting. I got 4 of those. I want to keep them for myself, but I figure I'll put them on there for $10. And I know they sell for 30, 40. If they sell for 10 or 15, great. Let's get some stuff in the hands of guys that they don't want to do the work of searching through eBay or Marketplace.
Right.
I'll find those hard to get things, and hopefully I can bring them to you at a good deal. And dude, some guys fight over them, man. You get some rare stuff. I've sold some stuff, and I wouldn't pay that for them myself.
Right.
But to that guy, that's a bait he cannot find. And
You're
one thing I do
there on Whatnot saying, I got it for you.
Yep. And there's a link to Whatnot. Like on my past videos, you'll see some, it's a bait sales. You can join me over there. One thing I do is if you're a first-time buyer, I always send you a free bait. It could be a new 6 cents bait. It could be, Strike King bait. It could be a pack of worms, a spinner bait. It could be a vintage bait or something, just as my way of saying, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you shopping with me. And the cool thing about Whatnot, as a seller, you have 48 hours to ship.
Okay.
So if you don't ship within 48 hours, it kind of penalizes you.
Sure.
And I try to ship as quick as I can. And you don't get paid until that person gets the package and it says deliver, and they don't pay until 48 hours after that. I don't like waiting on my money.
Yeah.
but it's a system that's it protects the buyer.
Yeah.
So if you send me a rock or you don't ship for 3 or 4 days, you're not, you don't get no money.
Right.
So,
right.
So I saw George over says, I love the Build Ants fat free sheds too. And somebody said, Baitman need to come across some old Strike King dancing shads. It's funny he says that. I sold about 10 of those about 2 weeks ago.
All right.
I do come across those quite a bit. So if you could follow me over on Instagram and my YouTube channel and Facebook. I'll usually put on Facebook, hey, I'm doing a whatnot stream. Here's a little preview.
3 real quick questions as we close out our
Sure.
time. How many baits do you own?
God, I can't count that.
Estimate.
My daughter's told me 2 million the other day.
2 million baits.
We'll go with what Neely says. She walked in the house, clean up. She said, Dad, you got 2 million baits.
How many do you think you actually have?
Oh, God. Well, this right here, I just bought this. This is a cabinet. And I used to have all these boxes over top of me, but I bought this cabinet. Dude, I don't know. I mean, just that topwater bait box, there's 100 poppers in there.
Right.
Almost. I would say if I counted each worm out individually, we're probably looking at 10, 20,000 baits.
Oh, wow.
I got a lot of plastics.
What's the rarest bait that you have?
The rarest bait. That's a good question because I got some rare ones. It'd be something they didn't make anymore. I got a swim bait over here called the Shizzard. That's really hard to get. They don't make it no more. I've got some pretty rare balsa crankbaits.
Okay.
Man, that's a really good question. Because every time I think I got something really rare,
something else
I
out
find
there
something. Yeah. But I would say right now I've got a bait called the Shizzard. It's a 7-inch glide bait. It was made several years ago, and they stopped making it. It was only about $100 bait, but I've got offers of $400 or $500 for it.
Oh wow!
I will not sell it because it's really good. It's badass.
Nice.
And then I got a couple old Bagleys that are brass, and those bow sticks are pretty rare too.
All right.
I mean, you hear guys talk about the OG Vixen and the Paycheck Repo Man. I'll be honest, I think it's harder to find a bow stick than it is one of those.
Last question for you. What's the one lure you cannot get your hands on that you want so friggin' bad?
Man, I can't find a Hinkle. I'd like to have a Hinkle shad.
Okay.
I know guys that got them. I don't want to pay $600-700 for them. I'd like to find one for about $300. Hinkle shad, and to be honest, some of the original Bass Pro XPS swimmers, they're really hard to find too. But I'd like to have a Hinkle. I'm not the world's best swim bait fisherman, but I like to experiment on stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a balsa crankbait. God dang it. I think it's I believe it's made by MVP Baits.
Okay.
And it's the color's called Sandstorm, and it's a beautiful chartreuse purple back, but it's almost like a purple craw. There's one on my Instagram. I think it's like an MVP. It's in Japan. Dude, they're like $300.
Oh, wow.
I'd love to get my hands on one just to say I've got one.
I love it. Sly Fox said some guys sell the Henkel shad for $2,000.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy a boat, so I'm holding off on them Hinkles.
I love it. You could always come in a little bit shallow on a kayak. Save yourself some money.
I've actually thought about that and talked about it. I got a Hobie dealer next to me. I could get a Bonafide. I like the Bonafides. I think they paddle really good. And now that they get the pedal drive system, I guess it's the P127.
That's the one I have.
I really like that. But where I'm into right now, it's like Neely's in here. She's wanting to go all the time.
Not a good deal.
If I just say, Neely, I want to go fishing, I'm going with you, Dad. And the other day, I just sat back on the bench I got a little pond over by my house.
Yeah.
Public pond's got a bench. I just sat back, and she's just casting with her pink spinnerbait.
Heck
just
yeah.
going and going and going. And so she really enjoys it. And she told me the other day, she said, "Daddy, I'm ready for your boat." I'm like, "Yeah, me too."
You know what? I'm not even going to try to talk into a kayak at this point because that you got your priorities straight. I love
Well,
it.
here's the deal. If I knew I could get a good deal, I knew she was really going to like it and maybe get into it, I could get something smaller,
Heck
for
yeah.
her. Bonafide is at the SS 107. That's a little bit shorter, smaller. I think it'd be great. I'm not against the kayak fishing. I love it. I think it's done so much to grow the sport of fishing and got people that were just like the kayak go, how about I do a little fishing too? And then they get that, they feel that drug in them, they get that adrenaline. They're like, oh.
Yeah, 100%. He went frozen on me again, folks. Illuminathan also has a P127 as well. So if you're looking to get into the kayak game, Bonafide is great kayaks. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but we were coming to the end of our time anyways. We're at 1 hour, 22 minutes. So if you haven't done so, hit that like button. Please help us out. If you're watching this from the Baitman's YouTube channel as well, help us do that. Thank you, Illuminathan, so much for giving me the juice. This was such a good one. I have to have him come back. Illuminathan said, wish this podcast was every day with you two. Appreciate it. Next week, folks, I think I have a week off. I think I'm actually going to start going every other week. I'm going to throttle back the cadence of this podcast because it's fishing season. And so we'll ramp it back up in the non-fishing season. But in 2 weeks, I have Debo. Debo's fishing on. So that's going to be a good time. Thank you guys so much for listening in. I will see you in a couple weeks on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed live show. You guys have a good one. See ya.